Made on Ridgeway Sports Podcast, episode 35. Hunter Keister back with
K-Mac, let's go.
Here we go, episode 35, the NCAA football edition, as we are going to be tackling week 3 college football season, going over the top 25 matchups, and just kind of talking about a week 2 in college football that was pretty crazy. Usually a lot of these, early weeks of college football are always known as tune-up games, and through the first 2 weeks, there was actually some good matchups and some really good games played. So we will be talking about that and hitting on week 3 mostly, as we will get started with Georgia, South Carolina. Noon game in South Carolina. 1-1 versus 2-0 Georgia. Gonna be a good game. Spencer Rattler, versus Georgia. See if he can show that he has what it takes to play in the SEC.
Yeah, most definitely. He transferred from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Last year and was a big time Heisman early before season Heisman candidate, and then his play was absolutely abysmal.
Gets benched a couple weeks into the season, and he just never sees the field again.
Definitely an interesting matchup, but I look for Georgia's offense to keep rolling, and I think they put it on. They put it on South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think they'll come out with a win.
I mean, to be honest, they already did play a ranked team in Arkansas. South Carolina did, but Spencer Rattler, 47-76, 600 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks through 2 games, isn't the best stat line for having to already play the number 1 team in the country. Ooh. And I think that
Jarrett Stidham and that offense will be
Stetson Bennett.
Gosh dang it. Stenson Bennett, not Jarrett.
Jarrett Stidham. Good one. But yeah, Stetson Bennett does look well. He's had some tune-up games, obviously, but 49-65, 668, and 3 touchdowns. Milton, 18 carries, 135 yards. Not too bad from him. And then, what is that? McIntosh, 14 receptions, 178 yards. Wells for South Carolina, though, 15 receptions, 244, and a touchdown.
Whoa.
That is insane.
Whoa.
Their running back is abysmal. If that's their best running back, that's terrible. 16 for 53 and 2 touchdowns through 2 games.
Oh, that's awful. If they can't get a running game going against Georgia, they have no chance.
No chance to win.
No chance.
Not a chance.
You cannot be one-dimensional against a defense like that.
especially Spencer Rattler not even looking the best. Like, how do you know that he's going to play the best? So, yeah, I don't think South Carolina gets it done. I think Georgia probably by 2 scores at least. I'll go 28-10.
I like 31-7.
Fair enough. Moving on to another game, if I can get this to go backwards. All right. UConn, Michigan, noon on ABC. The Michigan Wolverines back in Ann Arbor, coming off of J.J. McCarthy's first ever start. What a game. It was a great night. We were in attendance for that game.
Oh, yes.
It was a great time. So, Michigan looks to continue against a equally as bad UConn team and continue their easy non-conference schedule that everybody wants to talk about. So quickly, I will say to everybody that will bring that up, just for one, look at Michigan's schedule the last decade and then come talk to me. And then for 2, be mad that we're finally getting with the trend of everybody else in the country doing the same thing. If they can get away with it for so long.
And easy breezy schedule.
If they can get away with it for decades.
Bama,
Georgia, SEC entirely by themselves, always. They get a warm-up game at the end of the year before they play the rivalry game. It's just not a comparison. So I don't really want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Michigan's had a really tough schedule the past decade at least out of conference. And this is their first year that they don't. So, blah, blah.
Wah.
Yeah, wah, really. Michigan, UConn, 12 o'clock. What do you think, Carr? I mean, probably another landslide, blowout game.
I like 41-10 here. I think JJ has another stellar performance. He's pulled by third quarter. Let's throw Cade in there. Let's hopefully see him perform better. He needs to establish that QB2 position and validate being a team captain. Otherwise, that's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, his leadership will always be there, so I believe he should be a captain regardless of his play. But I do think that Davis Warren gives him some really healthy backup competition, to be honest, as he not only lost the starting job, he's not the QB2 already. I mean, he's not played well, and I do not think there was way too many boos in that crowd last weekend.
Terrible.
That was absolutely ridiculous, terrible, should never happen. People are so quick to forget everything you've done for them after,
just to spit in the face of Cade.
Just that he had a phenomenal year. I don't care what you want to say about our offense last year and what they did more, run the ball, whatever. He had a great year. He did his job to the absolute
played
best.
His role.
He played his role to the best of his ability, and we won games because of his leadership. So for you guys to sit there and boo him after he hasn't looked well to start the season is absolutely crazy to me and just terrible, and it's a spit in the face. And I couldn't imagine being Cade right now and going from the season he had last year to now sitting on the bench being booed. This is really going to test him as a leader, and I hope that he can.
Gonna get tested.
Yeah, I hope that he can stand up and face adversity and continue to be a captain for Michigan, because regardless of his play, his leadership is going to be important to the success of this team. That's going to happen regardless. So
you saw JJ grow.
Yes,
that's definitely inevitable.
From what I can see, it is as healthy as a competition as it can be. They are two friends. They do not all these people try to make it seem like they hate each other.
Turn them against each other.
Yes.
Yeah,
and you can just tell these guys know their role. They know that they are just competing against each other because they want to see the team win, and that is the best thing that can happen for this Michigan football team. Is two guys
competition
that
breeds
were good.
Success.
Yes, absolutely. And so I believe that everything was healthy about it, and the media was just trying to spin it in ways that it wasn't even. So just a great thing for Michigan to have, and I look for them to continue their dominance against a weak UConn team. And I will say Michigan puts up 45 and gives up 13.
All right.
Moving on. Oklahoma, Nebraska. The 2-0 number 6 Oklahoma Sooners take on the 1-2 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska fires Scott Frost, Joseph's first foe as the Huskers interim coach. He becomes the first African American coach in Nebraska football history.
Wow.
So those guys in Nebraska that how they they got some strong opinions. Who knows how they feel? But that makes me happy to see that happen, because when you see predominantly white states and have these guys that are racist and talk down,
how it impacts your recruiting.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Definitely impacted recruiting for sure. Then.
Yeah. Casey Thompson has not looked bad at all for Nebraska. I mean, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks through 3 games isn't the worst. I mean, they lose to Georgia Southern 45-42, but you really can't blame him there. I mean, he put up 42 points. Their defense is just abysmal. I mean, they gave up 31 the first week, 17 in North Dakota, which it still isn't the best, and then you give up 42 to an unranked Georgia Southern. I mean, what a way to go out for Scott Frost, right? I mean, I completely agree with him being fired. I think that it definitely makes his Nebraska, it tarnishes his reputation there. But I mean, he dug his own grave. I mean, he was only gonna get his schedule was only getting tougher playing number 6 Oklahoma, which was damn near for sure loss. Then you take on Indiana, who was never no slouch. I mean, you're going to get a couple games against Rutgers and Purdue that you could possibly win, but outside of that, Illinois could beat you, Purdue could still even beat you. You're probably not beating Minnesota. Michigan would have beat you by 80. Then you play Wisconsin and Iowa, and it would have just been a bad year for Scott Frost, and probably another really down year.
Underwhelming year.
And now they can they hire an interim coach, and they can start to try to find their full-time guy. So for this one, I mean, they got a good team on offense, it seems, But I mean, just that defense. If you give up 45 to Georgia Southern, like Oklahoma could realistically put up 95.
I see this as a Nebraska team that should be 3-0, but due to Scott Frost being an absolute fool, what the record says they are 1-2.
Yeah, I mean that. Gabriel looks incredible for OU. He stepped into that starting role, and he's 36 of 51 through 2 games, 529 and 5 touchdowns. That is incredible play. The running back has 26 carries for 173 yards, and that offense is already firing on all cylinders. With even the receiver, 10 receptions, 244, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, OU really hasn't played anybody through 2 games, playing UTEP and Kent State, but that's still great offensive production.
Absolutely.
As they get ready to start their conference play. And
I think, I really think Oklahoma puts it on, and this is going to be
this game should not be close in the slightest.
It will not be close.
I believe that offense could make them hang around, but their lack of defense probably sees them fall in the second.
Really going to cost them
in the second half. I think that they can hang around in the first half if Nebraska's defense is any better than it had been. But if not, I still predict this game to be like a 38-13 Oklahoma win.
I like 41-17. Oklahoma win.
Kentucky, Youngstown State, SEC at its finest here, playing these great out-of-conference schedules that we don't hear anything about ever. Number 9, Kentucky, has looked pretty good in their own right. Will Lewis comes back, and I mean, I guess he's looked all right. 34 of 56, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah, coming off of a win against Florida last week.
Yeah, and he played a tough Florida team who was ranked. What were they ranked at the time? They were.
I want to say Florida was like 13.
Yeah, they were.
Kentucky was like 23 at the time.
Right. So, I do like this game. I mean, I like Kentucky as a team right now. Will Lewis is a good quarterback. Looks like he had a little bit of trouble against Florida, but still pulled out the win.
I don't think I've ever seen Kentucky as a top 10 school.
Yeah, and Kurt didn't believe me at all when I said Kentucky would be good this year.
Nope, I didn't.
They've already climbed to number 9, and they had a really successful season ago, and are already now making their push towards the top of the SEC. But they still have some tough games. I mean, they get a win over Florida, which is a huge win, but they get a couple breaks against Youngstown State and Northern Illinois before having to take on Ole Miss to start their SEC play in Ole Miss as well. So that could be a really tough game.
That's
after a couple of tune-ups. But we will look at their matchup this week, as they are a 97% chance to win according to ESPN over Youngstown State. Their running back, 21 carries for 112 yards, and their top receiver, 7 receptions, 136 yards, and 2 scores. That's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Pretty dang good. Youngstown State, obviously, they're a little bit worse, but their quarterback has looked well. Crenshaw, 25 of 46, 384, 5 touchdowns. McLaughlin, the running back, 33 carries, 332 yards, and 4 touchdowns through 2 games. Wow.
Oh, man.
That is impressive.
That's one way to pull off a shocking win, is if you can control the ball and control the clock.
Yeah,
and they look to win that way.
Yeah, Youngstown State. I mean, realistically, no. I mean, they put up 31 in their first game, 49 in their second. These 2 games, I do believe, were conference games as well. And I'm looking at their ESPN, and Jim Tressel was their president, and he stepped down. He's stepping down as their president in February. So that's crazy. I forgot he was on there. He was their president.
Jim Tressel.
Yeah.
The former Ohio State coach.
Yeah, he's been there since 2014. He was working as an executive vice president for Akron. He coached at Youngstown State from 86 to 2000, winning 4 FCS division titles, national titles. Wow. Also serving his 80 before leaving for Ohio State. So Tressel, it looks like he wasn't let go or fired. He's 69, must just be
ready to retire,
and he'll get his last football season in. And let's see if they can shock
some Youngstown magic.
Make some Youngstown magic against Kentucky. What do you think this game will be?
I like a 31-17 competitive game, but Kentucky will pull away.
I unfortunately do not have any faith in this Youngstown team. And Kentucky, I'm still riding that horse. Until they get into some tougher competition, I'm still going to ride on the Kentucky. So I think they get it done. I'll say Youngstown State will get a couple scores, maybe like 28-14, but I don't think it's really that close. I think Kentucky kind of controls it most of the game, and the game's never really in question, but the score could look a little bit closer
than what it indicates.
So I will
That's
go
fair.
with Kentucky to win and beat Youngstown State. Moving on, we got Texas State and Baylor. 17, Baylor 1-1, Texas State 1-1 as well. Baylor loses a heartbreaker to BYU last week, 26-20. That was a great game in its own right. And goes to overtime with BYU getting the victory. So Baylor now has to, pony back up and rebound and take on a Texas State team that isn't the best, but I'm sure that loss is probably pretty sour to them.
Absolutely. They'll definitely look to bounce back this week and really put it on them.
Looking at these two teams, Baylor's quarterback, 35 of 48, 351, 3 touchdowns through 2 games. Great. You kind of need more than 20 points as an offense to win a game, especially a ranked matchup that early in the season. So that's surprising they lost and didn't really put up that many points. Their running back has rushed for 22 carries, 126 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But their leading receiver only has 6 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. That is pretty bad through 2 games. Wow, that's a little worse off. Texas State has thrown the ball 82 times, as their quarterback is 49 of 82, 519 and 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Even their running back, 37 carries, 200 yards and 1 touchdown. I get they weren't playing teams like BYU early in the season, having games against a loss against Nevada and a win against FIU. But, that's still pretty impressive to start the year with their receiver catching 15 passes for 142 yards and those 3 touchdowns. In this one, I do not think this is close. I think Baylor takes out some of that early season aggression with their loss, and I think they trounced Texas probably 48-7.
I'm going with 49-14. 49-14.
Nice and easy. Continuing down the list, our first and one of the best matchups of the week is number 12 BYU, number 25 Oregon. Oregon just hanging around in the top 25. They started the season off with a very bad showing against Georgia, but Georgia was definitely underranked at number 3, and that was very apparent very early on as they trounced Oregon in a 49-3 beatdown. Oregon then comes out against Eastern Washington and puts up 70 points.
Oh my goodness.
Their offense ends up looking a lot better than they did in week 1, obviously. But, Bo Nix is 49 of 70. 450, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Thompson's thrown 7 passes. That's not bad. They have 5 running backs getting 10 or more carries through 2 games.
What a committee.
Yeah.
That's really a running back committee.
With their running totals being 13 for 91, 13 for 87, 11 for 76, 11 for 55, 11 for 43. and then 2 guys with even 7 carries. So that's
Wow.
looks like they got some. Oh, this is okay. Bo Nix is the quarterback. So they have a 3 running back committee, and then Bo
Okay.
Nix obviously scrambles. So that makes a little more sense. But still having a nice 3 running back committee to try to lean on could play very well for the Ducks and how they're able to go up tempo and use all those different running backs. Their best receiver had a 12 for 118 for 1 touchdown, and Ferguson, the tight end, has 2 touchdowns. So, as we preview this matchup, man, this is a really good 3:30 game in Eugene, Oregon, too. So,
Ooh.
can BYU continue their winning ways? ESPN has this favored 54-45 in favor of the Ducks. Looking into BYU now, their quarterback is 48 of 71, 522, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Their running back is 26 carries, 166 yards, and a touchdown. Their leading receiver, 11 for 163 and a touchdown. So, Kurt, let's hear it. This is a really, seems like what could be a really close, exciting matchup at 3:30.
Yeah. I think Oregon's going to continue to really have some great offense this week, some great offensive production, and I think they pull it out. I like them to win 31-28. I think they'll get back to what they did last week, obviously putting up 70. And I think BYU is riding real high, and I think they'll get their first loss this year. I really do. I really do.
Wow. You know, as I look at this matchup, I don't like Bo Nix. I'll say that. I think that Thompson, their backup, was a highly rated recruit, and he is really young, and I think he should play. As Bo Nix, quite frankly, to me, hasn't looked the best through 2 games. Obviously, having to play Georgia is never an easy task for anybody.
No.
But I think I will pick BYU to come into Eugene, Oregon, and get a win. I do think it's a very close, exciting, down to the wire matchup, but I like BYU in a 28-24 victory.
Should be a good one.
Should be a good one, as it is probably one of the best matchups in a weaker Week 3 slate of games.
Quote unquote weaker.
I mean, we saw the NFL come out and have an incredible week with some of their lower profile games. So it's
going down to the wire.
It's every Sunday, every Saturday. So who knows? These games could be incredible. You never know. But moving on, we do have another SEC matchup as 20 Ole Miss will take on Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia. This matchup, 87% in favor of Ole Miss, and that's actually kind of low, 87%. So they kind of do think Georgia Tech might have. Yeah, there's definitely a few doubts. I mean, Ole Miss quarterback, 28 of 42, 336, 3 touchdowns. Sims for Georgia Tech has thrown for 264 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. I mean, in a predominantly running offense, because I do still think they run the weird option kind of offense, their running back has 20 carries, 132 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ole Miss has 24, 191, and a touchdown. Best receiver for Ole Miss having 6 receptions for 129 yards. And Georgia Tech's best receiver only having 7 for 72. You can definitely see that the rushing attack is definitely more.
The running team.
Yeah. What do you think? You think this matchup's any close at all?
I like Georgia Tech to hang around and keep it close. I think they will. But I got Ole Miss pulling it out. Close game. 24-14.
Wow.
I think they keep it close. I really do.
Close game.
Last week, there was a lot of games we thought that weren't even going to be close, and some teams pulled off big wins.
Absolutely.
So I do think this week there will definitely be some games that you're like, wow, there's no way that was going to go like that.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually thought it was going to be 28-14 in favor of Ole Miss, but I do think that Georgia Tech kind of hangs around a little bit in this one and puts the pressure on and doesn't really make it easy for an Ole Miss team to pick up their third win of the season. So I will go with Ole Miss, obviously, and that will take us to a Penn State-Auburn matchup. Both 2-0. Penn State entered the top 25 coming in at 22 this week, but they play a hard matchup in Auburn, 3:30 in Auburn as well.
Ooh.
So that is a very tough matchup.
Spicy.
This matchup does favor Penn State 61-38.
Wow.
As ESPN has it ranked. So they have a lot
a lot of confidence in Penn State.
They have a lot of confidence in Clifford and the Penn State team. As let's start with them. Clifford, 39 of 64, 495, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. As he's looked about as good as he could in 2 games. They've only played Purdue and Ohio. Their defense struggles, getting up 31 to Purdue, but then settled in against a much worse Ohio team in a 46-10 win. But now their first, another tough matchup for them, with Auburn on the road. Singleton, Penn State's running back, 20 carries, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's incredible. And their top receiver, Tinsley, 10 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. That is Penn State's side. For the Auburn offense, TJ Finley, 22 of 34, 279, a touchdown and 3 picks. Wow. That is pretty bad, especially when you consider they've played Mercer and San Jose State. And I forgot about that.
That raises some very big questions.
They barely escape San Jose State as well with a 24-16 down to the wire game.
Ooh.
Auburn only puts up a touchdown in the fourth quarter. That's crazy. And if San Jose State could score in the third, they give up 10 and don't get any points. If they get even a touchdown there, that could even be a really close game.
Yes.
That is a poor showing for Auburn. And now they have to take on Penn State. So now that kind of makes sense to see why Penn State's favored, because Auburn struggled against San Jose State. But man, that's a good matchup. This
is a good matchup for sure.
Bigsby, their running back, he's really good. 29 carried, 198 yards and 3 touchdowns through 2 games. And Johnson, their best receiver, is 7 receptions for 158 yards. So Kurt, let's hear it. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the underdog on this one. I'm picking Auburn to pull this off 27-21. I think they'll really look to lean on the running game. And I like them at home. I think home field is going to play a big advantage in this one. I'm going with Auburn to pull it off.
Nice.
I don't like Penn State at 22. I think they'll lose that spot after this week.
I mean, their defense definitely hasn't looked the best, giving up 31 to Purdue already. I mean, I'm not really the biggest fan of Sean Clifford either. I think he's been overrated thus far in his Penn State career, with him really not doing too much for the hype that is around him. I do like Bigsby a lot for Auburn, as he is a great running back. And Finley, I mean, he's got to play better, though. That's a really bad stat line against two really bad teams, and he's had a bad day. And Penn State's defense is no slouch either. So this is definitely a great matchup in my opinion. I also do like the Auburn Tigers to unfortunately continue that SEC dominance over the Big Ten. And I think Auburn takes advantage of Clifford. I think that the home field of Auburn will play dividends in this 3:30 matchup. And I like a 24-17 Auburn victory in this matchup.
Should be getting close to the 7 o'clock games.
Yeah, we got 4 o'clock. We got a 4 o'clock matchup here we go again. Alabama, UL Monroe, in another great scheduled out of conference schedule for Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. Alabama escapes, survive, nail biter,
should have lost,
down to the wire, should have lost. Wow, just incredible.
A very, very controversial safety that should have been called last week, but was called, I believe, a roughing the passer or something ridiculous.
I do remember something like that happening. As Nick Saban gets some of that college football, help that he doesn't usually need too often. So he says, "Hey guys, we can't lose this early in the season. We don't usually play this bad. So just give us a little something, and I'll make it up to you. I'll make it up to you later." But Bryce Young,
didn't play too good last week.
Yeah, 45 of 67, 408 and 6 touchdowns.
A lot of that was from that week 1 game, but last week he did not. He played good at the end when he needed to. He made some big time throws, but they didn't put up the amount of points that I thought they would against a weaker Texas. No way.
Only scoring.
I believe they won 19-20.
2019. Yep.
I remember we watched a lot of that game before we went to Ann Arbor, and like I said, Bryce he made the throws he needed to, but for most of that game, that offense did not look good at all.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
And Texas had a good chance, but unfortunately, their quarterback went down early in the game.
Yeah, Bryce Young, 27 of 39, 213 in this game with 1 touchdown. Doesn't end up looking the worst, but he definitely wasn't as good as he should have been. But their running back, wow, they need to run the ball more if they're getting this kind of production, especially against Texas. 6 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. That McClellan, very good.
Maybe he just had one really long run, or I don't know, maybe.
Never mind. He did have an 81-yard rushing score, or he did have 89.
But still, maybe he breaks another one.
Yeah, Gibbs. Gibbs is also really good. He only rushes for 9 for 22, but he looked pretty explosive out of the backfield for Alabama. Or maybe that was that is a running back because he did get 9 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. I was gonna say he only had 9 carries, but I thought he had the ball a lot more, and that he did because he did have 9 receptions, which led the Alabama offense, by the way, in receptions.
Wow, usually the receivers are.
Yeah, their best receiver. 4 receptions for 39 yards, and that might have even been, that is their junior receiver. Wow, that is crazy to not get the kind of production you're used to seeing out of Alabama's offense thus far. But give a lot of credit.
Texas defense played really good.
Give credit to Texas, all around. They lose Quinn Ewart early in the game, who was 9 of 12 for 134 at the time. I do believe he suffered a broken collarbone. I do.
Yikes.
I want to say that was his injury. Just 4 to 6 weeks with an SC sprain. So it did end up being a sprain, but that will put him out.
That's pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, almost in a 13-game season. Yeah, that's 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, that's tough. But their backup comes in 14 for 22 for 158 yards. Doesn't find the end zone, but holds his own against the Crimson Tide and that crazy Alabama defense.
I really think Texas messed up though on 3rd and 2. Why don't you run the ball there?
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Bijan Robinson, to Texas' credit, didn't really have a good game. Runs the ball 21 times for only 57 yards. Longest of the day was an 18-yard run, which isn't bad, but you need a lot more productivity if you're going to run the ball 21 times. But 3rd and 2, that just shows how much the Alabama defense must have been stifling their run. If you don't even trust a 3rd and 2 run and you pass the ball, then you take a sack, and then you still are able to drain the clock, but you take a field goal and leave way too much time for Bryce Young, and he doesn't have a good game, but he does what he needs to. He drives
made the necessary plays to win, but did not look too good.
Yeah, drove the Crimson Tide down the field, scored a touchdown, or put a game-winning field goal, kick a field goal, and they win the game. Okay, so looking at the Texas offense, Xavier Worthy has an incredible 5 for 97 game, as I just cringe watching him play incredible for Texas and what he could have been, especially now with that Michigan offense. But doesn't happen. Some stuff falls through with him going to Michigan, and he ends up at Texas and has a monster 5 for 97 game in their defeat, especially against the number one team in the country and their incredible defense. That is a great game against them, and that just shows you how good he's going to end up being. Hurts my heart, but good for him. And Texas, for me, writing them off, and I thought this game was going to be a blowout. They hold their own. And I'm interested to see how this card can do with 4 to 6 weeks to kind of be able to show what he's got. I mean, 14 for 22, 158 yards against Alabama. Definitely not bad. Not bad. So excited to see what he could do as they continue their quest to show they're a little bit better than people were originally thinking. But let's get back to Alabama, ULM. I mean, ULM hasn't really done much. 34 of 44. That's not too bad for the quarterback. 361, 2 touchdowns. Running back only has 74 yards on 21 carries, and their best receiver is 10 for 132. Wow. Alabama's best receiver, though, does have 9 receptions, 100 yards, and 2 scores. So that's not bad. But let's see, what do you think as they take on a obviously lesser ULM?
I like 61-7.
Yeah. This game isn't close.
I see a big week 1 repeat for Alabama here.
This game is not close. I don't think at all. I think that they're able to kind of get their offense in better sync and put up some more points. I don't think they put up 60, but I'll give them a 55-7 victory for the Crimson Tide in this one. All right, Wake Forest Liberty. This could be a decent matchup. Liberty 2-0. There is some doubts in Wake Forest with it being 77% to Liberty's 22. Wake Forest, their quarterback is 18 of 27, 300 yards and 4 touchdowns through 2 games. Looking at their team, they played VMI. Never really even heard of them. 44-10, they get the win, and then they beat was Vanderbilt ranked at the time, or they?
Vanderbilt wasn't ranked, no.
I didn't think so. I just thought they were 2-0, though. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They were 2-0.
They were undefeated.
Yeah. So they get the win over Vanderbilt in a pretty decent game, and now they take on Liberty. Their running back, 24 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Wake Forest best receiver has 8 for 189 and a score. Looking at Liberty's quarterback, 21 of 38. Wow, only 21 completed passes through 2 games. Isn't the best, as Liberty had to take on Southern Miss and UAB. Their offense hasn't, 29 points against Southern Miss isn't the worst, but they narrowly escaped that game in a 29-27 victory. The next week they take on UAB, and they only muster 21 points in a 21-14 victory. So, I think Wake Forest probably takes it to the Liberty team, as their running backs did have 23 for 144. Their best receiver, 8 for 148. But against some weaker opponents, they really didn't show much. And Wake Forest win against Vanderbilt just shows me that I do believe that Wake Forest will take this game. I think it's for whatever reason, I think this is another one of those close games.
Really?
I like 35-21 Wake Forest.
All right. I do like Wake Forest to win here. Give Liberty their first loss. I'm going to say 28-10. Wake Forest with the win.
Ohio State, Toledo, getting into the 7 o'clock matchups. The Rockets and Ohio State, 2 teams from Ohio. Who knows who everybody will root for in this one. Go Rockets, baby. Go Rockets.
Yes.
In a matchup in Columbus, I mean, ESPN 97 to 2% for the Rockets. CJ Stroud, I mean, that offense looked alright through 2 games. Notre Dame, being as bad as they were, really shows, I feel like they should have put up a lot more points. I get they had a little ring rust and had some rust in their team, and they lost a lot from a season ago, but only putting up 21 and then Marshall come out and putting up more the next week is a little bit to be concerned about if you are a Buckeyes fan. And then they get a 45 to 12 win against Arkansas State, but to me just didn't look the best in the first half at least. Ohio State's always been a second half team though, and did turn it on in the second half and run away with this game 45 to 12 in their week 2 matchup. But who knows? Can the Rockets make some magic in Columbus? Travion Henderson 25 for 178 and Marvin Harrison 12 for 240 as he is a monster already. They just keep turning out receivers, man. It's absolutely insane. Brian Hartline is probably the greatest receivers coach I've ever seen, because he's taking these guys, like now they're getting 5 stars, but he was taking walk-ons and 3 stars from nothing and just making them absolute monsters in college football and sending them to the draft. Absolutely insane production they got, and Brian Hartline is completely and 100% the only reason for that. So, good for them. Toledo's side, Finn, the quarterback, 33 of 54, 388, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Finn rushing the ball, leading rusher for Toledo, 19 for 138 and 3 scores.
Dual threat
for sure.
Gonna need some of that Saturday.
Yeah, and Newton is 8 for 160 as their leading receiver with a touchdown. Toledo wins 37-0 against a Long Island team, and then takes Don Brown's team to the woodshed and whoops on them 55-10. Don Brown did have a laughable field goal call with a minute left in this game, only putting up 7 points the entire game, and with a minute left in this game, elects to kick a field goal and make the game 55-10. I mean, I guess you can argue trying to get the field goal kicker some rest, but man, that's a terrible look.
I hurt to see the downfall of him, because I really liked him. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really liked him as our D coordinator.
I didn't know what to expect from him going to UMass. I mean, he did bring a couple position coaches, his former players. I do believe one of their old linebackers is a positional coach there that Don Brown had at Michigan. But just not a good look for UMass. I mean, just bad. They're 0-2 this year and lose to Toledo 55-10. But getting back to this Ohio State matchup, Kurt, you think they can make some magic?
I'm going to speak some magic into the air, but then it's just going to disappear in the second half. I like Toledo to hang around in the first half, just as how the past 2 games have gone for Ohio State, keeping the games very close at half. I believe Arkansas State was within 2 scores leading to halftime last week. So I do think Ohio State, kind of just comes out the same the first half. But I do think they'll look to really run the ball this week against Toledo. I think that's how they'll expose them. I think they'll really run the ball a lot and go through Travion Henderson and pull off a good win for them. I'll say a 45-21.
Yeah, I don't think this game's close. I mean, the first half may look competitive, but as much as I would like to speak some Toledo Rockets magic into Columbus, I just don't see it happening. I mean, Ohio State has 2 really good backs, and they have Williams, who's also ran for 22 for 130, and they do have a nice 1-2 punch there in Columbus. CJ Stroud, 40 of 58 for 574, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, but, I mean, he's got to start getting it together in that first half, because those slow starts, especially with the Wisconsin matchup next week,
looming,
they do need to start off a little bit faster, or Wisconsin could take it to them. So, interesting to see how they will play the Toledo Rockets. But I think this game is close, maybe like 28 to... No, I'll say first half score is going to be like 21-17, and I do believe the game finishes 35-20.
Wow. Really?
35,
man, I hope so.
35-20. It's another one of those games I think Ohio State probably puts up like 35 to 38 points total, and just kind of coast through this game. I think the game kind of looks closer.
Yeah.
Another one that looks closer, but could show some of the flaws in Ohio State. And I'm hoping for at least a exciting match.
A scare.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm hoping to really scare them.
Hopefully they can at least get a little scare into their system as they have to take on Wisconsin the week following. So we'll see what happens. Go Rockets, though. Go Rockets for sure.
Go Rockets.
Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Oklahoma State. Both teams 2-0. Did that say the temperature is supposed to be 94? I think that's at 94 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Predicted temperature. It does. 94 degrees in Oklahoma is supposed to be during that game.
Good Lord.
Wow. That is...
we don't want to be there.
Yeah. It's going to be a hot one.
Yeah.
As Oklahoma State is just projected to trounce Pine Bluff in a 99.7 projected win percentage.
Yeah, I think Pine Bluff is going to get Pine Bluffed.
Yeah. Sanders had looked alright. 49-79. Wow. That's a lot of passes.
That's a lot of passes.
But their offense has been on the field a lot. 49-79, 674 yards and 6 touchdowns through 2 games, as Oklahoma State has taken on Central Michigan and put up 58, but they give up 44 in that matchup, and I do remember that matchup kind of scared them a little bit, and then Arizona State, they beat 34-17. So some closer matchups against some weaker opponents, and they have Baylor next week in Baylor, so that is going to be a potentially really good matchup. But the running back, 36 for 192 and 2 scores, and their best receiver has 10 for 214 and a touchdown. Pine Bluff, nothing really right home about. 26 to 38, 434, 3 touchdowns, 38 carries, 260, 259 and 4 scores isn't bad, and their best receiver, 9 receptions, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, as Pine Bluff took on Lane and North American, as they're in the SWAC, which is, I believe, FCS. So, yeah, Oklahoma State
Trounce
54-7.
Trounce on 48-7.
Yeah, that matchup should not be close, and if it is, look for Baylor to take it to them the following week. But moving on, we got Missouri State, Arkansas, as Arkansas has quickly climbed up the leaderboard as well, ranking in at number 10. As you can just see, the rankings are just trying to get as many SEC teams up there as they possibly can. It looks like.
Yeah.
Arkansas State is at home in this matchup, and they have a 99.2% chance to win this matchup. Jefferson, their quarterback, 36 of 47, 385, 4 scores, as he's taken on number 23 Cincinnati. They win by a score, 31-24, and then they play South Carolina. They beat them 44-30, but some question marks in that Razorback defense, and they kick off SEC play with a matchup at 24 Texas A&M next week. So that could be a good one. And then Alabama in Alabama the following week. So their schedule does not get any easier. And but I do think, they play Missouri State. Nothing to really write home about. Their running back, Sanders, 44 carries, 273 and 2 scores. But their best receiver, once again, 7 for 88. You need some more production if you want to hang around against these SEC teams. And as of right now, they may blow the doors off this team, but I could see them losing some games with the kind of production they're getting, and their defense just looking terrible quite frankly.
Absolutely. Yikes.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's awful.
Pretty bad. I mean, Mississippi State's quarterback, 37 of 54, 563, and 6 touchdowns. Good production. 36 carries, 158 yards for their running back, and their best receiver, 16 for 256 and 3 scores. Not bad at all. As Mississippi State took on Central Arkansas and beat them 27-14, and then beat UT Martin 35-30. But in this matchup, I do think the Razorbacks get a much-needed trouncing win to try to set them up for SEC play. Who knows how they'll look there, but in this one, I like a 42-7.
I like Arkansas to get some momentum going, heading into their bigger games coming up. I like them. I'll say 31-7.
Tennessee, Akron, 7 o'clock, ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus matchup. As 15 Tennessee, look at all these SEC teams, man. You can just see them just all being pushed towards the bottom. I can't wait to see them start all thinning out and losing and getting pushed back. F the SEC, that's all I got to say. F the SEC.
Man.
But looking at Hooker for Tennessee, he beats out our boy Joe Milton for that starting spot. And it looked alright. 45 of 67, 546 and 4 touchdowns. As Tennessee has taken on Ball State in a 59-10 win, but played 17 Pittsburgh and comes away with a 34-27 huge win before their matchup against Akron. Hooker, definitely the choice who I would go with for sure for Tennessee. Joe Milton just had potential but never could really hone it in.
Just too inconsistent.
And yeah, great cannon of an arm, but too inconsistent everywhere else. And Hooker beats him out for the starting job. Their running back, Wright, 22 carries, 135 yards and a touchdown. And their best receiver, 15 for 230 and a touchdown. That's not a bad day, especially considering they play a really good Pitt team. And there's Tennessee, Akron, 1-1, beating St. Francis, PA, 30-23, and then getting absolutely waxed by Michigan State a week ago, 52-0. Looking at their play that they've gotten so far, their quarterback, Irons, is 31 of 50, 400 yards and 2 scores. A heavy dose of the run game, 31 carries, 114 and 2 scores. And Jaquise Lewis, 11 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown through 2 games. Kurt, who you got in this one? Tennessee, Akron.
I'm definitely picking Tennessee to win here. I like 34-7. I like 34-7. Tennessee win. Nice and easy.
Yeah, I do think...
Little breezy.
I think the Tennessee defense struggled a little bit more than that, but I will give them a 35-13 win. Always in control, but never really pulled away completely, but never in doubt either. So, a good win for Tennessee, but with some matchups against Florida, a matchup against LSU, and then taking on Alabama. But, like, this is what I mean. The end of October, right? The end of October, most of the Big Ten's in their dogfight games, and you have a team like a ranked team in Tennessee playing UT Martin in the middle of their schedule. Nothing else needs to be said.
No.
Nothing else needs to be said.
No.
It just doesn't. You just don't see it anywhere else. You just don't. It doesn't happen. So, whatever. You guys can say all you want about the schedules. Oh, here we go. What do we got now? We got a matchup. Texas Tech versus 15 NC State. Both teams 2-0, as this could be an exciting matchup. This meter for ESPN favors NC State, but it is only a 67-32% chance, as there is some doubt in this NC State team. This matchup will take place in where this matchup will be taking place in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So that is huge. A night game for them. Texas Tech 2-0. And this could end up being a decent matchup. We will start with the NC State Wolfpack, as literally their quarterback is 33 of 58, 499, 5 touchdowns. The running back, 21 carries, 149 yards and a touchdown. Their best receiver, 6 receptions, 72 yards and a score. Need a little bit more receiving the ball for sure. But decent running, 149 yards. Through 2 games isn't the best, I guess. But, especially only, yeah, that's actually pretty bad. I forgot about that. They barely escaped East Carolina in week 1, 21-20, before taking it to Charleston Southern 55-3. But NC State being 16 and only being beaten East Carolina by a point is really alarming for me. As I look into this Texas Tech team, they are obviously 2-0 in their own right, having a great 63-10 win over Murray State and an exciting 33-30 win over Houston. Definitely, probably have looked better, the better 2-0 team, I would say. This matchup could end up being pretty close. 50-74, 571, 6 touchdowns for Smith, their quarterback, running the ball 24 for 130, as through 2 games, haven't really seen the running production you would expect for both these teams. But Shelby has 158 yards and 2 scores off 12 receptions. How do you think this matchup plays out, man? I think it could end up being a close game.
I'm taking Texas Tech here to win. I think they pull it off. I think that first game for NC State really raised some eyebrows to me. Narrowly come out with the win. And Texas Tech always has a pretty productive offense. I think they'll really put up some points here, shock some people. So I'm taking Texas Tech in a close win, 30-27, overtime.
Wow, another great game.
A really good game. I think this one's gonna be good.
I'm hoping for it. But I also did like Texas Tech. NC State is just a little bit too high in the rankings for me at 16. They had a really bad showing against East Carolina. Texas Tech obviously isn't known for their defense, so probably would end up being a shootout. But I do like the Red Raiders offense, and I do like who they've played and who they've beaten already in their 2 games compared to NC State, having that really alarming 21-20 win against East Carolina. I will take a 41-38 game-winning field goal for Texas Tech. As I think it is one of the
points galore.
I think it's one of the better 7 o'clock matchups.
Wow.
And yeah, I think that's another really good game. Moving on down, we do have Michigan State, Washington, another one that I do think could end up being a good matchup. Pac-12 versus Big Ten. This matchup favors the Spartans 53% to 46, as they are favored on the road in Washington. That's pretty huge for Mel Tucker and the Spartans. So we'll start with them. Peyton Thorne, 30 of 52, 445, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, as they beat Western Michigan 35-13. I remember them not looking the best in that game.
That was a close game.
It definitely was closer than the 35-13 score indicates, but they come back, put up 52, don't give up any against Akron, and it sets up an interesting matchup against Washington here. Berger, the Wisconsin transfer, 33 rushes already, 227 4 scores through 2 games. Michigan State hit the transfer portal again and seems to have found another solid running back. I don't think he's Kenneth Walker talent, but I do believe he will be solid in that Michigan State offense. Peyton Thorne, however, does have some alarming stats, and I thought that he would look a little better than he has. But their best receiver in Coleman, 6 receptions, 120 yards, and a score. Michael Penix Jr., where did he go? He played at Indiana. He played at Indiana 4 years before transferring over to Washington, and that actually, I didn't know they had him. That could be a really good matchup, as he's looked very good in his own right. 46 of 66, 682, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Running back has 23 carries, 150 yards. You'd like to see a little more production out of him through 2 games. And their best receiver, McMillan, 9 receptions, 214, and 3 scores. That's pretty good, as Penix seems to have found his favorite receiver. But Washington has only taken on Kent State in a 45-20 win and Portland State in a 52-6 win. So, 2 straight back-to-back late night games, 3 straight. They take on Michigan State 7:30, at home against Stanford 10:30, at UCLA 10:30. And I guess they're used to those later games, but
but they're also on the West Coast.
I guess it's 7:30 game technically, but 3 straight back-to-back. I feel bad for the East Coast Washington fans that have to stay up pretty late to watch
3 a.m.
Yeah, to watch those games, especially the 10:30 kickoff ones. Yikes! It's nice to have football till you can literally watch from the time you get up almost to the time you go to bed, but it makes for a long night for some fans. Long wait too. Gonna have some rowdy fans there if they start tailgating early in the morning.
Ooh.
But this matchup, man, I like this matchup now. I kind of thought that Michigan State would blow the doors off Washington, but Penix Jr. really, to me, makes this game close. I like him better as a quarterback than I do Thorne. I like Michigan State's running attack more than I like Washington's, and the receiving battle is close, 6 for 120 and 9 for 214. This game is a very close game, and honestly, I'm going with the upset. Going Washington. I'm going 24-17 Washington.
I like a lower scoring game. I'm going to go with Michigan State 20-17. I think this will be a really close ball game, though. More defensive. Michigan State didn't look too good week 1. Bounced way back week 2. I think their quarterback still struggles in this game, but I think they make just enough plays to win with some good defense and ultimately come out of there with a win, 20-17. Really close game, though.
Nice. I do like that matchup as it sits right now. Florida taking on South Florida, obviously in Florida, in Gainesville, in the home of the Gators. But Florida, let's start there, as they're projected to win this game 93% 6. Anthony Richardson, 31 of 59, 311 and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns through 2 games. I had really high hopes for Anthony Richardson, and that is insane. I mean, that's a tough. We're talking about I guess this is the first year Michigan has a bad out-of-conference schedule. This must be the first year that one of the SEC teams have a good out-of-conference schedule, with Florida, taking on 7 Utah and winning that game 29-26, and then having to play a ranked Kentucky team, and they fall 26-15. They get a break against South Florida, but then have to go to number 15, Tennessee. So, some tough games to start the year.
The bat. Yeah.
But for the caliber of what I thought Anthony Richardson would be, it's unacceptable to not have any touchdowns thrown. Absolutely
Yikes,
crazy.
2 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like, how did they? So
how they score?
That's what I want to know, how they scored. So
some defensive scores, maybe some rushing.
Looking at the scoreboard here, they put up 29, but okay, so he had it. Oh, well, okay, so I guess he's just getting it down with his legs. 3 rushing scores in this game against Utah, and in the game against Kentucky, they only put up 16 points, and their touchdown was a lone touchdown pass that doesn't show up. Oh no, that was a run. And Anthony Richardson completed the 2-point conversion. So, I mean, pretty bad if you're asking me for Florida. I thought that Anthony Richardson could be a pretty high draft pick, and through 2 games has definitely struggled. I like him to get on track, probably throw a couple touchdown passes against a weaker USF team. Looking at them, their quarterback, Bohannon, 34 of 58, 391, 2 interceptions. He also has no touchdowns passed as, wow.
I don't see that very often.
Yeah, they beat BYU. They lose to BYU 50-21, put up 42 points against Howard, but somehow don't score a passing touchdown as they score 4 straight rushing scores. And their entire offense, their 6 touchdowns in this game, were all on the ground.
Wow.
With a, is that 6 different players too? Oh my gosh. Magnan got 1. Deuce got 1. Oh no, Magnan gets 3 rushing scores. Deuce get a rushing score. Deuce gets 2. And then Battle gets 1. Powell gets 1. Wow. What a backfield committee for USF in this game. That is absolutely insane. Who needs a quarterback when you got 6 running backs? 3 running backs scored touchdowns in this game. And they all play, I mean, Magnan gets 7 carries, Battle gets 7 carries. Dukes has 3 carries, 34 yards, and 2 scores. Wow, that's pretty good. But no passing scores for Bohannon, which is absolutely insane. As he did play at Baylor for 4 years before transferring to UCF and has struggled. Wow, which is insane. I mean, and he must have been Baylor starter, throwing for 275 attempts, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on 173 completed passes. So he must have been the starter, lost the job, and transferred out of Baylor to USF. Crazy to me. Wow, no touchdowns thrown for either quarterback is insane. Absolutely insane.
Will one throw this week?
I do believe so.
Someone's got to.
I do believe Florida takes it to USF, takes out some of that frustration with that early season loss. I think they trounced USF 35-14.
Yeah, I like it someone like that, score-wise. I like 31-10, Florida with a good win for them, heading into some tougher matchups coming up.
Absolutely. Start that SEC slate. Let's move it on down. In these late matchups, we are going to take a look at Pitt, Western Michigan, 7:30 game. Pitt 23 having a loss already to Tennessee. So 2 really close games to start the season for them, as they finally will now get a couple easier games, taking on Western Michigan, Rhode Island, and Georgia Tech in the next couple weeks. But Pitt, Western Michigan here, late night matchup. I like Pitt. That offense is very well there. They bring in transfer quarterback in Kenny Slovis out of USC. He's looked pretty well. 30 of 46, 503, 2 touchdowns in some tougher competitions. Running back, 33 carries, 169 yards and a touchdown. And best receiver, Wayne, 10 receptions, 171 yards. I mean, Western Michigan, 46-79 for the quarterback, 423, 1 touchdown. Running backs got 176 yards on 28 carries and 15 of 143 and a touchdown for their best receiver. With Western Michigan losing a close one to Michigan State and barely beating Ball State 37-30. So I think this matchup is just a little too much for Western Michigan. Give me Pitt in a big 31-13 game.
I like Pitt here to win 28-3. I don't even think Western Michigan scores a touchdown.
Wow.
Just a field goal.
Nice. Dominating win for Pitt as they come off a couple nail-biters in a row. Moving on down the list, another quick and easy matchup. Clemson, Louisiana Tech, 2-0. Clemson, DJ Oogalagaligaluga. 40-59, 441, 3 touchdowns, and a pick through 2 games. Shipley, really good running back. I like him a lot for Clemson. 20 carries, 110 yards, 4 scores. And their best receiver, Collins, 7 receptions, 111 yards, and 2 scores. O'Neal, Louisiana Tech quarterback, 18 of 34, 339, 5 touchdowns. Crosby, 23, 222 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 156 yards, and 2 scores. As Louisiana Tech took on Missouri, losing 52-24, and then beating SF Austin 52-17. So they are 1-1. We'll look at Clemson, 2-0. They beat Georgia Tech 41-10 and Fulham 34-12. They have one more easier slate before taking on at Wake Forest 19, and 16 NC State back-to-back games. So the road kind of starts for Clemson, but still, they're in the ACC. They've always really dominated there. And I think they continue that with a big win over Louisiana Tech. Give me 35-6, 2 field goals for Louisiana Tech.
I like 49-10 for Clemson to get a big win, heading to some of their bigger games coming up.
For sure. One more quick one. Texas, UTSA. Guess where's that, Kurt? It's in Texas. Who would have thought?
Wow. Would have fooled me.
Would have fooled me. Quinn Ewers out. First game for the backup quarterback to start. At least it's a little bit of a tune-up against UTSA. Texas coming off that heartbreaking 20-19. So very close in beating Alabama. Could not get it done. And, they take on UTSA before a matchup against Texas Tech and West Virginia. Then Oklahoma with a matchup against Iowa State. Then Oklahoma State. That's 4 tough games in 5 weeks pretty much. With Iowa State, they take it to Iowa. Who knows? Maybe they take it to them too. But their matchup definitely don't get easier after this. But at least the backup gets a nice tune-up game against UTSA. The Longhorns are favored 92%-7. Bijan Robinson, 31 carries, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Would like to see a little more production there. Worthy, 7 for 121. I like what he's done so far. UTSA, their receiver, 20 receptions, 222 yards, and 2 scores through 2 games as UTSA took on Houston in a nail-biting close loss and then barely beats Army by 3 points. As their slate gets a little hard with Texas. No, it doesn't. Never mind. They take on Texas Southern, MTSU, Western Kentucky. Yeah, never mind. They play a pretty weak schedule in the Conference USA. But in this one, I think it's all Texas. I think that backup quarterback tries to find his groove a little bit, and I think he'll look pretty well doing that. As I do believe Texas wins 35-7.
I like Texas here at night to pull off a big win. Lean on Bijan Robinson. Carry the rock. Maybe create some play action, some easier throws. And come out with a nice win. 38-10 for Texas. A nice win for them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are getting down now to the best matchup of the night. 9:30 kickoff in College Station. coming off that crazy loss Texas A&M suffers, pushing them all the way back to 24 in the rankings as they lose to Appalachian State. And 24 Texas A&M, 13 Miami. Miami's 2-0. I mean, they have some wins against Bethune and Southern Miss. So Miami hasn't played anybody but puts up 70 against Bethune. Pretty dominating offense right there. But Texas A&M definitely looks to try to get that bounce back after a crazy loss against Appalachian State. I do believe Texas A&M made a switch at quarterback. Yes, they did. QB Johnson is going to make the start against Miami. Wow. Looks like they bench King in favor of Johnson after the loss suffered to Appalachian State. That's pretty crazy here. I mean, he only mustered 14 points against one of the lowest ranked Division I schools in the country. Does that say he only threw for 97 yards in that game? Oh my. Wow. Well, 13 for 20, 97 yards. Appalachian State plays the best defense of their life, I guess. Oh my God, that is absolutely pitiful, pitiful, pitiful. Wow. What a loss. Nobody
was a good idea.
Nobody talked about it. Yeah, nobody talked about it either. But I definitely, I would probably put it in the back of it as well. As you just can't look that bad against a Appalachian State team. And then it doesn't get any easier for them as they have to take on Miami. So looking at this, I mean, the backup comes in, so you really don't know his stats. I mean, A&M's running back only has 100 yards rushing in two games. Their best receiver has 189 yards, so that's not bad. But wow, you would just expect to see more. What were they? 8? I think they were 8 going into this game.
Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure was 6.
Maybe 6 even?
I want to say 6.
Like, nobody talked about that, but I'm just putting it out there now. This is a way worse loss than what Michigan had way back when. Way worse. I'm not even being biased in the slightest. The 6th team in the country, Michigan wasn't even close to being 6 when they lost to them.
No, they weren't ranked.
They were FCS at the time and really kind of set up the program. Did Appalachian State at that time, but still just a terrible, terrible loss for the number 6 team in the country against a really low Division I team. So I like Van Dyke, Miami to win big here. They're favored 53-46. Van Dyke 454 passing, 33-45, 3 touchdowns. Paris running the ball 37 times for 217, and Miami looked to really probably lean on that ground game. But that whole offense looks good. 11 for 172 for their best receiver, and I think A&M looks better than they did last week. I mean, you can't really look worse than you did, but I do like Miami in probably a 2-score, 24-13 game.
I like the U here to come out with a big win, 31-20, and I don't even think it's close.
Wow, Texas A&M.
I think Texas A&M gets some garbage time scores. I think you're looking at maybe 31-10 heading in the fourth, and they maybe get 10 points or so in the fourth. But I think I think Miami really takes control of this game, and it's not even close. I think Texas A&M is completely overhyped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Way over their head.
Definitely now. I mean, they have that number 1 recruiting class a season ago, so definitely on the right path. But a loss to Appalachian State is a loss to Appalachian State. Crazy, crazy, crazy for them to be that high and lose that game.
I think that leaks into their confidence for this week.
Definitely could. As they go to a new quarterback, they had high hopes going into the season ranked 6, and now those are pretty much all gone, as their best bet is to climb back up the rankings, try to make a good bowl game, as that one loss just killed their season entirely.
That's a GG.
Yep. Utah taking on San Diego State. Utah loses to Florida in their Week 1 game with a bounce-back win. They are 14. San Diego State is 1-1 as they took on Arizona, lost to them 38-20, beat Idaho State 38-7, and I like a I like a big Utah win here. Not even close. I mean, Utah's quarterback's thrown for 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, 39 and 55. Running the ball, 34 for 163. Would like to see a little bit more on the ground for 34 carries, but their best receiver, 9 for 136 and 2 scores. Nothing to really write home about for San Diego State. Quarterback, 20 completed passes in 2 games, 159, 2 scores.
Gosh.
Pretty bad. Armstead, 10 for 129, and Salvers, 5 for 46 and 2 scores. That whole San Diego offense looks terrible, and for that reason, I will take a big 45-6 win.
Yeah, I'm taking the Utes. The Utah Utes.
Yep.
48-3. 48-6.
No touchdowns, just field goals.
Maybe a couple field goals, maybe a field goal, but 48-6. That's 20 completions in 2 games. That is abysmal.
Pitiful.
Abysmal.
Yeah. 10:30 game, Eastern time. USC, Fresno State. Pac-12 matchup doesn't have... I mean, they have USC favored 90-10, so there's a little bit of doubt in Caleb Williams, but he's looked really good through 2 games, 39 and 49, 590 and 6 touchdowns, as he picked up where he left off for Oklahoma a season ago. Their running back is 19 for 125, and Jordan Addison, the best receiver in football a season ago, continues his stellar performance. He has 12 for 226 and 4 scores. As we look into Utah's first 2 games, they beat Rice 55-14 and Stanford 41-28 in a game that I do believe that would just looked a little closer than it actually was. So USC, they look really good offensively. Question mark still on that Pac-12 defense and what they can really do against some tougher teams. But Fresno State has thrown the ball 87 times. 700 yards. 2 games. 35-7 win over Cal Poly and a 35-32 loss against Oregon State in week 2. I have to look at these stats. I don't even understand. 700 yards for their quarterback. 377 yards against Cal Poly and 360 yards in their loss against Oregon State. That might be the best 2-game performances out of a quarterback I've ever seen. I get they lost that second game, but that is absolutely...
They must not run the ball at all.
Oh, I do definitely want to look into their running stats now. 36 carries for 195. I mean,
wow.
For having 700 yards passing, it through 195 yards is definitely not bad. That's a pretty good Fresno State offense with their best receiver having 15 for 200 yards. I like USC in a big win here, but man, Fresno State looks good. And they could really contend with some teams if their defense can get it together. But to close it out for this one, I like a USC. I like them to actually get some points put up on them. I like a 35-24 kind of closer game. USC kind of controls it, but Fresno State doesn't go down without a fight, especially with that offense, I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. I definitely think Fresno State will put up some yards and points, offensively speaking. I like them probably to lose 27-41. I think USC's offense will keep rolling. Caleb Williams is looking good. Addison, the receiver, is looking real good. I think their offense keeps going in this one. 41-27 for me. I think a 2-score game sounds about right. Kind of similar to Stanford, but yikes. It's hard to argue against those numbers from Fresno State.
Yeah, that offense is
They're slinging it.
Incredible.
Slinging it.
Incredible. Could end up being a really exciting matchup, and I hope it is, as it closes out our week in college football. We will be back, as this was a longer one. Got into some in-depth review and preview of these games, totaling about an hour and 28 minutes without cuts. But we will bring you guys back tomorrow night to wrap up the college football day and what happens. So we'll see you then.
Absolutely.
And until then, Made on Ridgeway Sports Podcast. See you tomorrow night.
See ya.
Alright guys, and we are back following the 12 o'clock college football games that are just finishing up as it is now 4:06 Eastern time zone. It was a pretty interesting 12 o'clock slate. Some decent matchups, some blowouts, and everything in between. So we will start and kick off the noon games with the defending national champion, number 1 overall team in college football, Georgia, taking on South Carolina. Spencer Rattler, could he, take it to Georgia? And the answer was just flat out no.
I know.
48-7 win for Georgia as Denton Bennett goes 16 for 23, 294, 2 touchdowns. Denton Bennett, they must not have ran the ball much because
That's a lot of yards for only 16 completions.
Yeah, and he carried the ball 3 times for 36 yards, which apparently led the team for Georgia. So that's pretty interesting there. As they don't really get much production out of their running backs. 10 for 32 is terrible. 6 for 32. Yeah, they have no production from their running backs, but they get it done through the air, and they put up 48. As Spencer Rattler, 13 for 25, 118, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And he might have even gotten benched at some point as the backup went 5 for 8, 76, and a touchdown.
Yeah, he definitely got benched.
Wow. Georgia just continues to throttle everybody that they come across. They're going to be really hard for anybody to beat this year.
No doubt.
No doubt. Getting into the next matchup, the Michigan Wolverines took on the UConn Huskies, and the Michigan Wolverines come away with a great effort on both the offense and the defensive side of the ball, and they get a 59-0 win in Ann Arbor today. J.J. McCarthy, 15 of 18, 214. Blake Corum, 12 for 71 and 5 touchdowns. What a day. As a whole bunch of quarterbacks played for the Wolverines today, as 3, 4, 5, 7 quarterbacks tallied snaps today. You also got to see a lot of rushing touchdowns, but also Ronnie Bell kind of make his emergence into this season with a nice 7 reception for 96 yards.
Definitely his biggest game this year. Actually threw it to him.
Yeah, they got him the ball, and he made some phenomenal catches and almost a great touchdown grab.
Yeah, that touchdown grab would have been phenomenal.
Oh, man. But a lot of receivers made catches today for the Wolverines, which is encouraging to see. And I felt JJ played good. I felt that he didn't really make any mistakes. He took a sack that I didn't really like, and then he had a pass deflected that was kind of risky. But other than that, he took what the defense gave him, and they come away with a 59-0 trouncing of a really bad. Not even really bad. They just got injury prone pretty much with their
devastated.
Almost their entire offense going out by injury before the season even started. It seemed like UConn. If I'm looking at their stats, I mean, offensively it was really just 4 of 16 for the quarterback for 17 yards passing.
Another team that decided just to really run the ball.
Yeah,
most of the game against Michigan.
The quarterback gets 42 yards on 7 carries, which isn't bad. But the running back, 14 for 23.
Yeah, a lot of that was from that. They actually did have a really good read option play that we were sleeping on. 14
for 23 and 6 of 21 were their running backs, and no receivers really did much. And there's really not much to talk about there. Michigan 59-0.
Business
all
as
over
usual.
UConn, and they open up Big Ten play next week at home against Maryland. I'm excited for that. Let's go. Moving on to what was, and I guess what used to be a great matchup, a matchup that everybody used to look forward to in Nebraska versus Oklahoma. Well, today it was nothing to look forward to, as it was a 49-14. Yeah, they get absolutely waxed. They get waxed on their home field as the interim coach.
Tough first game to head into.
Tough first game for the home crowd, as they give up Gabriel 16-27, 232 touchdowns. Gray, the Oklahoma running back, 11 for 113. Palmer, for the Nebraska receiver, did record a 10 reception, 92-yard, and a touchdown game. So that's definitely their bright spot, as Casey Thompson, 14 for 20, 129, 1 touchdown. I mean, you got to put up more points. I mean, the offense really didn't look bad. Their running back had 7 carries for 60, 11 for 49, and 13 for 36. So, offensively, they didn't look bad, but defensively just couldn't hang around with Oklahoma at all. And they get the easy win over them. So, that will be another quick one for us. Looking into the next matchup, Kentucky, number 9, Youngstown State. They get a nice 31-0 win. Will Lewis, 27-35, 377 and 2 touchdowns. What a game. Rushing the ball really wasn't much success. 18 for 66 for Kentucky's leading rusher. And their best receiver had 6 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. As Youngstown State couldn't really do much, as they had 9 completed passes for 9 out of 24 for 134 yards and no touchdowns and a pick.
Wow.
I mean, their running back, 10 for 36, 422. Nothing they could really do. For Kentucky, we talked about Lewis and Smoke already. Wright had 5 of 21. Best receiver was 6 of 90 with another receiver, Tavion Robinson, having 6 of 66. And just a big win for Kentucky.
Kentucky continues on.
We have a 42-7 Baylor big win over Texas State. Texas State quarterback, 24-36, 186, and a touchdown. I mean, I guess that isn't terrible.
24 completions, though, for less than 200 yards isn't that good.
That is also true. As Baylor's quarterback goes 15-26 for 184, touchdown and a pick. Running the ball, no success for Texas State. 12 for 41, 8 for 36, 4 for 16, just nothing. Baylor had really good success out of 3 running backs, all scoring touchdowns. Richard Reese, 19 carries, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Craig Williams, 8 for 56 and a touchdown. And Blake Shippen, 3 of 42 and a touchdown. So, great production out of Baylor's ground game. Through the air, not much happening. Best receiver, 3 of 46 and a touchdown. But, I mean, they just do what they have to win. And they get a huge 42-7 win to improve them to 2-1. As that will do it for the noon games. We will be back to cover the 3:30 games with Penn State and Auburn. 3:45 in the first quarter. It is 7-3 Penn State with Auburn having the ball. And Oregon BYU in the Big 2 matchups. Oregon is up 10-0.
They just kicked the field goal.
They just kicked the field goal and BYU has the ball. So we will update you with those matchups in a bit. And see you then. Alright, and we are back to close out episode 35 made on Ridgeway Sports Podcast after a pretty, wasn't too crazy. Had some surprising games, but nothing
underwhelming.
Yeah, I would say the games that I thought were going to be good ones ended up being pretty much blowouts. There were, one OT game or maybe 2 this time, but no games that really were a huge surprise. I mean, Washington beats Michigan State, and I projected that to happen. I think that I didn't know they were going to be without their best receiver, Jalen Reed, so that was huge for them. But I think that Peyton Thorne showed that he wasn't. I mean, I guess he didn't really play the worst, but I don't know. They just couldn't get it done against Washington, and they already started their season off with an early season loss, which is huge for them.
Puts a big wrench in their season. That's a wrap.
Will be hard for them to navigate and get back into things, but we're just gonna go over just basically touch on all the games again, as the ESPN app that we used to do the scheduling didn't really keep it in order like we thought they would, so we're just going to give a brief overview over all the games. So as of right now, we have a couple games going on. The Utah-San Diego State game is 12 minutes and 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter, with Utah taking it to San Diego State 35-0.
No surprise.
No surprise there that they will walk away with an easy win. Fresno State USC is pretty close. We projected this game to be closer than everybody else would think, and right now it's 21-10 with 13 minutes left in the third quarter. So that could end up being a game and something to watch out for. Yeah, as the night goes on.
If you're not asleep.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated through the podcast as to what's going on with that. Georgia, South Carolina, we mostly already talked about. 48-7 win for Georgia. Alabama 63-7 win over UL Monroe. Ohio State ends up whooping on Toledo 77-21. To be honest, Ohio State's defense didn't look the best against Toledo's quarterback. He kind of was doing whatever he wanted. He also made some incredible throws. So, even when Ohio State was defending well, he just made some good throws. But if Toledo had any type of defense, they could have had a serious chance to win this game. But that skill gap just on the defensive side for Toledo, and it was just too much.
Toledo's defense, just too many easy gimme plays for Ohio State. Too easy for them. Their offense kept in the game just because of their quarterback. Finney had some really good plays, mobility, escaping the pocket, and running. But unfortunately, when you have a defense, you can't beat Ohio State. Yeah. Can't do it. Can't go toe-to-toe with them.
Stroud only throws 5 incomplete passes, 367 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He has his way this game, and they come out of Columbus with a huge win.
What was the final score? 77 to what?
21.
Wow.
Yep. Michigan, UConn, we touched on already with Michigan getting the win 59-0 as they get ready to open Big Ten Conference play next week against Maryland, who had a pretty interesting game, and we'll talk about it when we get there, but it should be an interesting game next week in Ann Arbor, for sure. Clemson, after kind of struggling in the first half, only leading 13-6 at halftime, ends up pouring it on to Louisiana Tech and winning 48-20. Not as convincing as you would kind of hope if you're a Clemson fan, I feel like, but they do get it together in the second half and secure the win. So that's all that's really needed to be said there. Oklahoma dismantles Nebraska 49-14. Easy game for them. Oklahoma State 63-7 over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Kentucky, yeah, right. Kentucky, Youngstown State, we touched on 31-0 Kentucky. The Razorbacks in Arkansas beat Missouri State 38-27, but that game was in doubt for most of the game, as it was 17-14 at the break, and 24-17 at the end of the third quarter. So Missouri State definitely had a big chance to get a huge win over a top 10 team, an SEC team. Being that, but that would have been crazy. But Arkansas ended up getting the win, and they improved to 3-0. Washington, Michigan State, like I said, we touched on that a little bit ago, but I predicted Washington to win. I thought that Peyton Thorne was going to play bad, and he did. Penix Jr. didn't really play the best. 24 of 40, 397, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions though. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, the incompletions were there, but 4 touchdowns, 397 yards. You can't really argue with that. And the Washington defense played well enough. Not having Jalen Reed was huge for the Michigan State offense, but I thought that Peyton Thorne was going to struggle, and he did. And Washington gets the win on their home field, and this is a big loss early in the season for Michigan State, because now you have to start Big Ten play knowing that you can't even have any setbacks, so your season's pretty much your season's pretty much
Already
over.
already starting behind the 8 ball on that one.
Yeah. BYU Oregon, a relatively coached game for Oregon, as they led for a lot of this game and end up winning 41-20.
Oregon looked great.
Yeah, their defense looked really good.
They played really good today.
Their offense looked really good.
That running back they got has some crazy speed too.
Yeah,
Whew.
I agree. Definitely liked what I saw out of both teams, as the BYU quarterback 29-41, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oregon's running back 14 carries, 97 yards, and a 3 reception, 84-yard day for a Oregon receiver. So a nice win for Oregon in Eugene, and they take on Washington State next week, which could end up being a very interesting matchup this early on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
A game that we just finished up watching, Texas A&M, they end up rebounding off of they beat Miami after Kyle Van Dyke, aka Kyle Van Dork. He was terrible. That offense for Miami was terrible. Josh Gaddis, that offense, look at that.
Fast.
I'm so glad he's there, and we have Matt Weiss and Tron Moore, because we put up 59 today. I get it's a different environment, but still, man, that offense, you could just tell that was pitiful. Pitiful offense, bad quarterback play, a lot of overthrown balls, not even really competitive passes, a lot of punts, and just terrible all night long. I mean, Miami's defense kept him in the game, only giving up 17 points, 10 points in the first quarter, 7.
Miami got to the red zone multiple times, but a common theme with Josh Gaddis was not being able to score in the red zone, which ultimately is what cost them this game.
Absolutely.
Got to the red zone, I think, 4 different times, kicked field goals, and actually had a blocked field goal.
Yeah.
So, there's your game right there.
Yep.
Final drive, got to the 4th and 5, but dropped ball by a receiver. So, just
unfortunate way to go
bad
out.
Bad offense the whole game.
Bad offense for sure. They go out early. That hurts Miami's chances, of course. And we move on as Tennessee gets a nice 63-6 win over Akron. Not much to say about that. NC State, Texas Tech. I do believe we both took Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I want to say. And NC State.
I know I did.
NC State gets the win 27-14 in this game. Baylor 42-7 over Texas State. I believe we talked about that already.
Mm-hmm.
And a shocking couple close games. First we have Florida taking on South Florida, and Florida only wins this 31-28. What a finish.
Because there was a bad snap.
Yeah.
So when they went to hold the ball wasn't even held up right. It was still on the ground sideways, but the kicker actually got a pretty good
attempt to it.
Yeah, pretty good attempt that was close.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Florida came back and won. Got an interception there towards the end just to help seal things, but real close game for them, and down to the wire.
What a scare for Florida early. That would have been a massive
upset.
Another loss for Florida. That would have almost taken them out of contention completely with 2 losses already. They get the win after a huge scare for them. But moving on, Wake Forest, Liberty. I called it to be a close game, and it finishes 37-36 Wake Forest. What a game. Wake Forest's quarterback 26-44, 325 and 3 touchdowns. 18 for 93 and a touchdown for their running back, and their best receiver 5 receptions for 129 yards. Great game, down to the wire, and I wish I would have gotten to be able to see that, but Liberty falls after they go for 2, and they don't get it.
Nope.
Instead of kicking the extra point. That's insane.
One for the dub.
Wow. Ballsy calling. It doesn't pay off for Liberty, but great game nonetheless. Ole Miss 42-0. Big win over Georgia Tech. Not much to say there. Their quarterback only went 10-16 though for 200 yards and a pick. like a little bit more of him there, but their running back had 18 for 134 and 2 touchdowns. That's a good day. Texas kind of struggles as it looks like they used 2 different quarterbacks in this game. It showed somebody else, but Hudson Card, 15 for 23, 161 and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson ends up getting it together. He looked pretty bad in the first half. He finishes with 20 rushes, 183 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And their backup, Rashawn Johnson, 11 rushes for 81 yards. So they really got it together on the ground. Jordan Whittington had 4 for 56, and Xavier Worthy has 4 for 41 in this game. So Texas gets a nice win. After they lose their star quarterback, they still pick up a nice quality win to try to propel them into the season some more. Penn State Auburn, I had high hopes for this game, but Auburn that Auburn offense must just be terrible. Only muster up 12 points over a Penn State defense that really isn't the best. I mean, it's good, but Penn State plays 4 quarterbacks in this game with Clifford, 14-19, 178 in this game. Finley and Robbie Ashford pretty much have really similar stats in this one. Finley goes 11 for 19, 152, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Robbie Ashford, 10 of 19, 144, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So, looks like they have a little bit of a quarterback controversy, and they have no ground production. I mean, they used 3 different running backs, including their quarterback, obviously, but Tank Bigsby, I expected a better game out of him for sure. He only mustered 9 of 39. Robbie Ashford,
that's terrible.
The quarterback, 11 for 29, and Finley, the other quarterback, 9 of 21. So no running game.
Yikes.
2 receivers have good games, as Cedric Jackson has a 4 for 76 game, and Javarius Johnson has a 6 for 73 game for Auburn in their loss. As we look at the Penn State running, Singleton had 10 carries for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Allen had 9 rushes for 52 and 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball really well. Receiving, Strange had 6 receptions for 80 yards, and Parker Washington 4 for 58. As that rounds out that game, Penn State picks up a big win, and that will most likely move them up in the rankings just a little bit, I would say.
Most definitely.
Moving on down the list, Pittsburgh, Western Michigan, as Western Michigan hangs tight, but falls another semi-close game, 34-13 over Pitt. Looks like a decent showing out of the Pitt offense, as I don't even know who that quarterback is. Did Slovis get hurt? Is that who that? Nate Yanell played in this game. 9 of 12 for 179 and a touchdown. I wonder what happened. I feel like they had. I thought their running backs though, 31 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. What a game! And then their backup had 11 for 83. That's a really.
200 yards.
Their best receiver had 3 for 94. So they had some guys take over. Yeah, Slovis did get injured. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, they definitely had a different quarterback. I could not think who it was. So we will move on. As I think, besides, let's end it off. We just have to touch on Northwestern. I mean, they lose to Southern Illinois.
Good Lord.
Like, are you kidding me, Northwestern? Pat Fitzgerald, like, you do not deserve a pass for this, man. You absolutely 100% do not deserve a pass for this. How do you lose this game? Southern Illinois, you're 1-2 on the season. You lose by a touchdown. You give up 31. Helinski, Southern Illinois, and you're looking terrible. 27 of 43, 213, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. You're playing that bad against Southern Illinois. I mean, your running back Hall played really well. 25 carries, 124 on the ground. Porter, the backup, 11 carries for 40 yards, not bad. But look at this quarterback, Nick Baker, 23 of 34, 241, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. What a game!
That's good.
What a game!
That's really good. Wow.
Nothing really to write home. Malik Washington, 4 for 76, and a touchdown for Northwestern receiving. And Tice Daniels, Southern Illinois best receiver, has 2 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. And their best running back went 10 for 55. And, I mean, that's just... I can't believe Pat Fitzgerald...
Pat Fitzgerald on the hot seat?
He should be, if he's not. He really, really should be. And that will pretty
unacceptable.
Yeah, that is unacceptable on a lot of different counts. Here, looking at the games, as we're going to close out this podcast, 4 minutes, 41 seconds left, 35-0 still for Utah as they coast to a win. And it's 28-17 right now, 9:04 left in the third. So, I know you'll be seeing this on Sunday morning, but I hope you guys did get a chance to tune into this game, or you guys do check out the highlights.
Yeah, Fresno State just scored.
This should be a interesting down-to-the-wire finish to this game. So, what a good podcast for us. Over almost 2 hours in length with a little bit of cuts, but a good deep dive into this week in college sports. So, great podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if we should change anything, how we're doing it. If you like how we're doing it. If we should make these shorter, let us know. But just sound off in the comments. Let us know how you felt about this week in college football. And we will see you again on Thursday for some, or Wednesday for some NFL. So let's get it. Hope you guys enjoyed Made on Ridgeway Sports Podcast, episode 35. Let's go.
Let's get it. Adios.